Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening to this. This is Sooner or Later, and I am Sophia Cook. So today, on today's episode, I'm going to be speaking to Fiona. Fat, Black and Pregnant is her handle on Instagram. Now, Fiona is very similar to myself, whereby she had her daughter during a pandemic and also her daughter at later life. Fiona, welcome.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I mean, I've never met a parent who was asked that question and not just said tired. So I've stopped saying that bit. So apart from that, because that goes without saying, I'm actually pretty good. I'm in a really good mood.
But tired is a part of parenthood.
100%.
And
Yes.
and your daughter is how old?
3. Last week she turned 3.
A toddler.
Yeah.
Toddlers have their own agenda, and usually it doesn't match with your own.
She's a complete prick. Like, I love her. I love her so much. And my mum says it's because she's just like you. That's why she's an arsehole. Because I did not know that kids got that much personality so early.
So quickly.
And I feel like it's from like a year old. She was very determined. She's very much like, why are you asking me to do anything? I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, but hang on a second. So when you spoke to your mum and your mum said, that's just like you. Right?
Yeah.
So she's a carbon copy
Yes.
of you.
And Jack, actually, because Jack is just as stubborn. So it's. I've always said to Jack throughout our relationship, if I do something to annoy him, I say, well, you get what you deserve. So I was like, you must have been a bad person in another life if this is what you're getting from me. But I think now karma is paying me back by giving me a daughter like that and saying, well, you get what you deserve.
Well, not to a certain extent, because, I'm sure you have very strong characteristics and you want to pass them on to your daughter. And to know that you're putting your child out into the world who's similar to you,
Yeah.
it's got to be a bit of a gift.
It's actually pretty wicked, to be fair. Like, I always wanted a daughter who was super confident and very funny and just bright, question things, and also to be a little bit defiant. I quite like that about her. But I just didn't think she'd do it to me all of the time. All of the time.
These kids, they don't care.
They
don't
really
care.
don't. I almost wish I was more like her. Like, I wish I didn't care as much as she doesn't care. But she's so empathetic, and that's really lovely. If she sees a child crying, she'll go up to them and be like, "Oh, mummy, she's crying."
Well, she obviously gets it from somewhere.
Yeah, not me. No, not me.
Well, let's rewind slightly. So, who are you? What do you do?
Who am I? Well, I guess I like to say that I'm a writer. I write content and apps and audio productions for museums and cultural sites. I've been doing that for like 17 years now. Mm-hmm. It is definitely my happy place. I really didn't give a crap about art before I got this job. Mm-hmm. I just wanted a job that sounded creative. So when I saw a job for creative assistant, I was like, well, obviously that is for me. But it was admin, it was invoicing and very boring. But essentially, you're in a company for 17 years, you move up. Mm. So ended my role there as head of creative. But it's joyful. I love telling stories. Storytelling is literally my drug. I love it so much. And even just in songs and music, it's a story. It's a 3, 4, 5 minute story. I'm obsessed with films. I'm a horror fanatic. So anything that's about storytelling makes me happy. So
that's brilliant, because that's why you're here today. Because 100%. I'm very, very keen to hear your story and your journey. It's quite similar. We're quite similar in a way how we met our partners. So did you meet your partner online?
Oh, yes, I did.
So you met him online. Then came Ramona?
Yeah. Well, after like 7, 8 years.
Okay.
We were together for a while.
So tell me, was it something that you knew that you wanted to start a family?
So I think I always wanted to have a family, but I mentioned that kind of childhood trauma kind of kicked in during puberty, and it never really left me because it was unresolved. Mm-hmm. So that kind of manifested itself in, I don't deserve anything good. Mm-hmm. I don't deserve to be loved. I don't deserve anything. So even when my life got better, even as I got happier, I was scared to want anything because then I'm going to be disappointed. especially as I don't deserve anything good.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I probably did always want kids, but never really vocalized it or allowed it to be very much part of my thinking process.
Because you were fearful.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I just very much thought like I'm never going to get anyone who loves me properly, ever. And then I was with an ex. I've only ever had one proper boyfriend
Mm-hmm.
before Jack, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just the worst. It was just the worst. He was a Scouser. We met on a writing site. Like I said, writing and storytelling is a big part of my life. But his family was super racist, but in this really insidious way. So they were very nice to me. But then I'd hear him on phone calls with his mum, who had left. I was in the library the other day and an African woman coughed near me, and now I can't stop coughing. I think she cursed me.
Oh, God.
Or on the phone to his little brother saying, "Are you sure you're okay with a black woman in the house sleeping?"
It's like a death of 1,000 cuts because it's very, it's those micro, small, tiny digs over a period of time. But then you've also got someone telling you how much they love you, how much they want to be with you, and you're just like, actually, is it really that bad?
Yeah.
Is it like, and also as well, depending on the character that he is, they could be suppressing you in other ways.
100%. Like he was just a massive liar, and I didn't really get it. Again, first relationship, I was 22. Like I was self-abusive for a lot of my childhood, and I just stopped. So it's kind of like I was in this very vulnerable place. We met, he seemed to understand me through my writing, so it just made sense to me. Probably this weird romantic bullshit that young women and young men tell themselves. But one time he showed up drunk to meet me from Liverpool, and he was hammered and was like, "Oh, I love you so much. My dad says that I could do much better than a fat black girl from London, but I love you anyway." Wicked. Thanks.
You're a prick.
And then obviously he cheated on me. So
oh my goodness. Oh, the thing is, I've dated probably about 10 of those, and it never ended well. But we have both found our guys.
Yeah.
And we have both had children
Mm-hmm.
at a later life. I was pregnant with my son at 40, 40, and you were how old with Ramona?
If I'm 40 now, I must have been 37. 37, yeah, why not?
And so when that came about, I don't know if it was a similar situation. Like lots of my friends already had kids.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I remember, and if you're listening, friends, I remember like they'd be having conversations about nursery fees or breastfeeding or lack of sleep, and I'd be like getting ready to go out, and I'd be like, hey, see you later. I wasn't engaged. I wasn't really that bothered. I wasn't taking note of what they were going through because I was still, I didn't have a kid. I'd got divorced. But now I have 2 toddlers, and they've gone past that phase.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't really a choice. Well, there were 2 things for me. I chose not to have kids with my first husband because I knew, and it was a very short-lived marriage, even though we'd been together for a while, I knew that I didn't want to have kids with him. But having met Cookie, we wanted to start a family, and we tried for the first year. Nothing was really, really happening. And then the children came along. But trying to sustain relationships with friends who have moved on past the teething stage, past those milestones, and they're now moving on to college and, children that are independent. The conversation flow or being asked to go out, etc., is very, very different. And I just wanted to know whether you felt the same and having a child later on in life.
Well, in terms of kind of friends with kids, like I've always been someone who doesn't know how to ask for help. I don't like to ask for help. I'm also not one who, I am now.
With friends or?
With friends and family. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like I don't want to be a burden on anybody. Mm-hmm. And then obviously now I talk very publicly about myself, but before I don't want to tell anybody about myself. Again, I don't want to be a burden on anyone. Mm-hmm. That's how I used to feel. So...
Sorry, at what point was the change of mindset? Was this prior to being a mum or after?
I think it was building up slowly. I guess I don't want to give him too many props. um, Meeting Jack really did change my life, 100%. I started learning that I do deserve everything I want, and
Because you're loved.
yeah,
And it's love
100%.
unconditional.
And I feel crazy because my parents adore me, and my younger sister, we're so close. We're so close, and always have been. But I think when it's your family, not that you take it for granted, but part of you is like, well, you're supposed to think that about me. So I'm happy that you do. But at the same time, as much as it's genuine, it's not coming from this objective place. And whereas Jack was someone who met me, who instantly liked me, but then every time I was weird or depressed, or he saw me going to my anxiety spirals, he was someone who was instantly able to understand me, never make me feel stupid, never make me question myself. So it's weird. It's almost like he gave me the room to accept myself. So it's not that he made me accept myself. He just gave me a safe space, saying it doesn't really matter what you do. I'm not going anywhere. And be weird. It's fine to be weird. Let's be weird together. So yeah, meeting him absolutely changed my life. I'd been on apps with my best friends, having the time of my life. It was very, very funny. Also, once I broke up with my ex, and I was traumatized for like a year and a half. Moved in with my grandmother. Like it was just a mess. And then I thought, well, the best way to get over him, obviously, is to have sex with as many people as I possibly can. So that's what I did for like a year and a half, 2 years. And then I was on an app. I don't know if I can say which app. It was OkCupid, which everyone said at the time was very much like a shagging app. But that's not what I was on there for.
No, but the thing is, I think I spoke about this previously, is that the apps, there are hundreds and thousands of different apps, but it's how you use it.
Yeah.
If you want to use it as a shagging app from A to B to C, swipe, 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 then that's entirely up to you. But there are genuine people that want to form genuine connections.
Yeah.
Those connections could be for a week, they could be for a month, they could be forever.
Yeah,
You just don't know.
100%. And I liked that one because all the questions that you could answer, like I like these films, I like that. And then there's always these, everybody used to love a personality quiz. I think people still do. BuzzFeed have them all the time. So it almost felt like a game. Like, oh, I'm just going to do this personality quiz and answer all these silly questions. And then it meant that Jack got to see that about me before talking to me. And in fact, actually, he messaged me and I said, though he says he never messages anyone, but whatever. He messaged me and I said, no, I can't because I'm actually seeing someone else. I was not a double dater at all. I don't have the energy to remember 2 different names.
Oh, I was.
Oh, I can't stand it. Because I would say something stupid. I'd be like, oh, how's your cat? And they'd be like, what? I don't have a cat. I'm allergic. Like, I would really shame
I wasn't like sleeping with like 2 guys at the same time, but I would maybe do 3 dates. I had a notebook, like my prize notebook. I had my prize notebook and I'd make a notes of when, how, what, and like, but I would, this is a bit of a side note, and I think I've said this before, I don't know if I said this here, I used to wear, because it got confusing, right? I used to wear the same dress on a first date, and then I would just have a uniform that I'd be like...
That's quite clever.
Yeah, I was a professional dater.
But would you not have to like swat up before you then saw them again?
I always had a little book. I'd be like, hang on, I'm just going to go to the toilets. Yes, you are on holiday and your dad's called Frank, right?
I don't have that kind of energy at all. But yeah, I was seeing someone else just casually. He was a nice guy, but whatever. I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. And then when that ended, I then messaged him and he said, actually, I'm in a kind of a situationship with someone from my secondary school, which is really random. So it's someone I knew really well. But then that ended, and he says he ended it because he liked me so much. And yeah, we had a mortgage together within a year. So it was I told him I loved him on the 3rd date.
Me too!
Yeah. It's like, I knew I loved him on the 1st date, but I'm not going to say that. Like, I saw him standing there.
Actually, no, I said it the next day. Sorry, yeah.
That's just it. I could have. I really could have. But I thought he will never talk to me again. But when I saw him on the street waiting for me, he didn't know I could see him. And I said this in my wedding speech at my wedding. I thought, oh, fuck, I'm in trouble. Oh, fuck me, I'm in trouble. Because I thought, even if this goes nowhere, this person's going to be the love of my life. I know it. I know it. I know it. This is what's going to happen. And what I said at my wedding was, it's like, if you know that if you say Candyman 5 times in front of a mirror, you know what's going to happen. So you don't do it.
I thought it was 3 times.
No, I think it's 5.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's 5. Because at the end of Candyman, I'm sure he says Sarah 5 times. Anyway. But I was like, I know what could happen. I know what could happen. I could be eviscerated and collapse into a heap on the floor. But it would be the quickest I had ever said Candyman in my life if I had to for Jack. I was like, it's worth it. It's absolutely... And I thought that instantaneously when I saw him.
When you know,
yeah,
you definitely know. Sorry, I slightly sidetracked you there.
Me too.
No, this is good because remember we were saying that you end up talking about the things that you want to talk about, right?
Yeah.
What you're meant to talk about. So you had Ramona, fell pregnant 37.
Yeah, so actually we met, got married a few years later, but my parents, my parents very much like, so when are you gonna have a kid type thing? And I was very much like, if we have children, it will happen when it happens. Because I think we both felt like, why didn't we meet each other 6 years ago? It's such a shame. Like we're 30.
But you were a different person.
I would have been. I said I
6 years
was a
ago.
psychopath.
Yeah.
I was like, you would not have liked me at all. And he's like, no, I would have. I'm like, I wouldn't have given you a chance to get near me. If I thought you were good for me, no, thanks. So I'm in the midst of my chaotic, depressive self-destruction stage. I would never have been able to see him at that age. So, but I wanted to travel with him. We wanted to travel. We wanted to do stuff.
Before becoming parents.
And we were just very much like, let's not rush it. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, we're so happy in our life. It doesn't matter. So then it got to a certain stage where we were like, well, actually, if we're going to do it, we should probably think about it now.
And at what age were you then?
36.
So were you still getting, I'm going to use it very loosely, were you still getting external pressures, like family, friends, or like, you were seeing when you were like, I don't know, for me it was like I was seeing loads of friends get married and having kids. Were you seeing that? Were you thinking, actually, maybe we've done a bit of travelling? Is it now about that time?
Honestly, I don't think we could have done it if we weren't very happy in our life. Because we were just like, if it happens, they're coming into a situation where we are 100% happy. So what other people were doing didn't bother me.
Good.
And I loved their kids. I loved their kids. There are photographs of me holding one of my best friend's firstborn and kissing his head. Like, I didn't want to put him down. I love children. I used to babysit my little cousins. I love kids and I'm pretty good around them. But it didn't make me feel like I had to have my own. And Jack was very much like, if we don't even want to try, I'm fine. And I was like, no, we're going to give it a go. And I'm incredibly fortunate. I got pregnant within 6 weeks of trying.
Wow.
I know. And especially when you're told, well, you're old and you're fat.
And you're black.
So it's not going to happen.
Old, fat and black. I heard it too.
100%. So it's like, it's not going to happen. Why are you trying? So I think that's part of why we were like, well, if it happens, it happens. It probably won't. So yeah, got pregnant after 6 weeks. And then lost the baby at around 10 weeks.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right. I mean, when the doctor person, I don't know, confirmed it with a scan, he was so sad that my first words were, I'm so sorry. I'm very much like that.
I'm so sorry that you're upset for my loss.
Well, because like I said to Jack, he's got to go home and like sit with that and he'll have to tell his partner or his mom or whatever. And Jack's like, Fiona, you just...
But it's happening to you.
But that's very much me. I think, like I said earlier, about not wanting to be a burden. That's very much how I feel. It's like I don't want to put that on other people. So when I do, I want to apologise. We coped. We were okay. But what I wanted to do was have another go fairly quickly. Because I thought, I will let the terror of this stop me from doing it. And again, I got pregnant very quickly again. So we gave ourselves, like, I don't know, 6 weeks or so, because I don't think you're supposed to do it too quickly after a miscarriage. But as soon as it was clear to do it, we're like, well, let's try it again. And I got pregnant straight away. So again, we were really, really lucky. But because of losing the first baby, I was terrified the entire time. I was so scared.
Throughout the entire pregnancy?
Yeah, I was so scared throughout the pregnancy.
And so obviously your midwife would have been aware of the loss of your first baby. How did you find their reaction or support? Were they supportive enough? Because I don't know if we went under the same.
I was at Lewisham.
Yeah, that's right. We're under the same borough, and
Yeah.
I just found the whole fat, old, and black thing. I was never congratulated. There was never, in my experience, there was never an appointment where it was like, oh my God, congratulations, you're having a baby. It's always like, well, this blood pressure's up and this has happened. It was always very negative. And the thing is, you can't sugarcoat it, and you do need to be made aware of what could go wrong. But at the same time, to support the mother-to-be, you needed to hear like positive affirmations. It's going to be okay. And in my experience in that particular borough, I just found it shocking. And
it's like you expect people to just treat, especially pregnant. You're so vulnerable, and you're having to put yourself into the hands of people you are hoping want things to go well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was not really treated with any grace. My whole kind of interaction with the health system for the next 2 years, from being pregnant to pandemic drama, was horrendous. So we had one consultant that I quite liked, but everybody sucked, except in the early pregnancy unit, because I realised I was pregnant very quickly. So that then you're put on you see a different department until you reach a certain.
It's on the ground floor.
Yes.
Yeah. You got to go past not the labour bit, but you've got to go past.
You've got to go past the standard maternity bit to get to early pregnancy. Yeah. So that's where I was going, and I felt really weird actually, because when I lost the baby, and I guess I went to be assessed and see how it was going, and if make my decisions as to how I wanted to proceed. I remember thinking, I'm sat around pregnant people right now.
I just think the floor plan, whoever came up with that was just so. What I'm explaining is that there is it was on the ground floor, an early pregnancy unit. You had to walk past the main waiting room, or sometimes join that waiting room with mothers that were like weeks away from having their babies.
Yeah.
So if you'd experienced loss, if there was something going on, the scan wasn't right, they kept you in the same room with Sandra over there that's about to go into labour, or her waters are broken. Yeah. I just think, did they really think this through? Because psychologically, I was just like, I need to get out of here.
100%. I could hear people on the phone to their partners going, oh, it's so wonderful. And I'm like, I'm really happy for you, to be fair. I'm not taking that from you. But I'm in the exact opposite place. Yeah. And I'm having to sit around. And it was actually really weird. I never felt old until I was in that unit, because I felt like everyone looked obviously they weren't 12, but it's just being 40. Everyone else looked so young.
Yeah, and I think it's like, we cannot sugarcoat what could go wrong. Yeah. You need to be, as a pregnant woman, you need to understand that, right? I don't have any medical profession or whatever. All I've got is my intuition, and being a first-time mother, I rely on those around me to give me that support. Yeah. And it was always met with negativity. Yeah. It was either my weight or, giving me stats or information whereby I wasn't feeling confident enough to walk away, to look for that own information. I was just listening to what they were saying. Yeah. There's women of your ethnicity, and they weren't saying it like with that gusto, but they're like, they were saying with your ethnicity and at your age was the thing that kept coming up. And, you do, the medical term was like geriatric. It does get bounced around, because obviously when you're past a certain age, there are less like good eggs, whatever. Yeah. Like that's a fact. It's biology. Yeah. But there are still women having kids 55, 60.
Exactly.
And, then you're met with, oh, this could happen. I just think that it alarms me that we are now in an age where women are having children later from choice, from out of their own hands, from trying. Yeah. And I think the language and support there needs to be more at that level. If a woman decides that she wants to have a child, or that decision's taken away from her, then the supporting group network, medical professions, needs to be mindful of that, because you'll spend the entire pregnancy worrying about all the things that could happen. Yeah. which will supersede all the good
All
things.
the joy, 100%. It's kind of like any birthing person, any pregnant person deserves to be treated with grace and kindness, because being pregnant can suck at times.
Yeah.
It can be really hard and you're really scared. I mean, my weight was the biggest thing, and my age, actually, in terms of how I was treated. I remember going to the doctor's surgery and having to see the midwife in the surgery, and she weighed me and she looked at me and went, "No, let me do that again." And I was like, "Are you on drugs? I'm standing on a scale and it's giving you a number. Like, it doesn't actually matter what it says. I'm here and I'm pregnant." And so whatever. But yeah, talking to the consultant, and again, my age and my weight kept coming up as I got bigger, further along into the pregnancy. One person was like, "Oh, you've lost weight. You're actually losing weight." And I was like, "Well, it's not intentional, but cool, whatever." But then other people would be like, "Oh, you're so big, your baby's going to be ginormous."
I
And
got told that.
we can't, because obviously I had a big belly, but they were like, "We can't see properly in the ultrasound." So then they were predicting her size. But it was so wrong. It was so wrong.
It's been, I honestly, I know I can say three or maybe more women that were told that their kid, due to their size, their kid was going to be enormous.
Yeah.
They were going to experience that. I don't know what it's called, where
the
shoulders
dislocates.
the shoulder dislocates, the baby gets stuck and all this business. And they kept saying to me, and I had extra scans because I was 40.
Yeah.
They kept saying to me, "Your baby's going to be gigantic. He's going to be stuck. You're really big. You're gaining too much weight."
Yeah.
And I had gestational diabetes. And, you know, one person was like, "Oh, diabetes in your family, but because you've gained so much weight, the chances are when you birth the baby, you're going to end up having diabetes as well."
Oh my God.
I was just like, the whole pregnancy was just awful.
Yeah.
And it was not because it was awful from the messages I was getting: old, fat, and, you know, and it wasn't until I think I was pregnant with my daughter that I started hearing about stats of black women. I think it's 5 times more likely to die.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I was then going back to the doctors, and they were like, "Well, you know, you're maybe over exaggerating a certain," like, I was like, "I haven't felt baby move." And they were just like, it's just a time of feeling so vulnerable and scared. Doesn't matter what, you go to your doctor, you go to your midwife for that support.
Yeah.
So you're pregnant with Ramona. When was she born?
The day lockdown started.
Was it March?
23rd of March. Yeah.
So you've gone through this really intense pregnancy, having had a loss.
Yeah.
You've had the joy of your life, and then all of a sudden, you get told that the whole world is coming to a standstill. Not just our borough, and so the external support that you were looking for, that I was looking for, the help wasn't coming.
Bugger all. There was nothing. It was really, really weird. That week in hospital was one of the worst weeks of my life, in that I hadn't realised, but for the last few months, the consultant had been like, "You must have a vaginal birth. A C-section when you're this fat and this old will be horrendous. Do not have a C-section. I do not advise you have a C-section."
Your obstetrician said,
"Yeah, don't have one. Don't have one.
Because you're too fat."
Yeah. Which is actually funny, because I've been reading a lot of things that are very much like
got told
fat people are too lazy to push, so you have to have a C-section. But no, he was very much like, "Do not have a C-section, the anaesthetic, all that shit." And then
this is what I'm talking about, mixed messages, because I was too fat and too old to have a vaginal birth.
Yeah.
Therefore, I needed a C-section.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was told.
But I didn't pay any attention to it, because I was very much like, however this baby has to come out of me, she got to come out of me. I don't really care. So fine, I will plan for a vaginal birth. I genuinely don't give a shit, because when it comes to the time, you're going to take it out of me. So whatever. But so I needed an emergency C-section because it had been 30-something hours of labour, because she refused to come out. But part of the reason is they wouldn't let me move. Because of my weight, they were like, "No, we need to monitor you the whole time." So I was on my back the whole time. And I was like, but I don't want to be on my back the whole time. I want gravity to help this kid get out of me. I don't want to be lying here. And they're like, no, you've got to be strapped up. We've got to monitor you the whole time. And then they gave me an epidural. And then I fell asleep. They told me to go to sleep. Nobody told me that if you go to sleep, the epidural stops working because you have to top it up every how many hours.
Yeah.
No one told me that. So then I woke up and was like, why can I feel everything? And they were like, oh, well, you shouldn't have gone to sleep. Again, what is wrong with you? It's literally your job. But anyway, I hadn't realised that all of this messaging Jack had been absorbing. So I'd been going, whatever. Jack had been taking it in. So when they said you need an emergency C-section, he just was pale. And throughout the entire process, he was just stuck. Do you know what I mean? So he was sat next to me. I remember thinking, just chill out. It's fine. Because I can't let myself be stressed about it. I'm about to get cut open. Like, it's fine. But he was not fine. He was not okay. He was looking at me in this weird way, and I kept trying to doze off, and he was like, no, don't fall asleep. He would not let me fall asleep. And I remember the people in the room being like, just let her sleep, and him being like, no, she might not wake up, no. And it's because of what we've been told. Yeah. This whole, you're too fat. You cannot have a C-section.
I feel so... I wasn't expecting to feel like this. I feel so mad and a bit emotional because I guess this is the first time we've actually spoken about this. Yeah. And I got told that I was too fat and too old
for a vaginal birth.
And I needed to have a C-section. It was an emergency C-section, but I had what do you call those things? Sweep. I had several sweeps for it to come. I was walking around, pacing around. And they kept saying, you're a bit old. And then when I did try to have a vaginal birth, I remember the midwife just basically, and I was like making a bit of noise. The midwife was just like, well, you know how you got here? Like the most, yeah. And the thing is, Cookie's not confrontational. Right? Yeah. And at that point, I was like, what'd you say? What do you say? You need to get out of here quick. And I was there with my cousin as well. I just find it horrendous that, age and weight, age and size. And
race. Like,
of course race comes into it. Man. And the fact that they kept you in a particular, they monitored you on your back for the entire time.
It sucked. It just sucked. But then, nobody would come near me to help me because of this bloody pandemic. So they kicked Jack. They wanted to kick Jack out the day she was born.
Were they all scrubbed, like all masked up and screens? Like they have shields on.
No. I don't remember them having anything on their faces. Like I said, it was the day lockdown started, so there wasn't really much information. There wasn't that big thing about PPE. There was none of that. So nobody was like that in the room that I remember. I was on a lot of drugs because they didn't believe me that I could feel them. Oh my God, that went on for so long. They put this anaesthetic in me and then touched my legs. I went, can you feel it? And I went, yes. And they were like, no. And I was like, bitch, yes, I can fucking feel it. You asked me. Yeah. So they gave me more. Then they wheeled me into surgery and were like, can you feel it? I was like, yes, I can feel it. I can feel it. And they were like, well, close your eyes. And I was like, yes, you're stroking my foot. I can feel it. It was so horrific. That made me really angry. But again, I think they were like, wow, it's like putting down a fucking bison, you big bitch. That's how they made me feel. Like, it was ridiculous. But then, after Mona was born, they wanted to kick Jack out. Jack slept on the floor. He was like, I'm not going anywhere. But then he did get kicked out the next day, but no one would help me. So they're like, you've had a C-section. Don't pick anything up. Don't move, blah, 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 blah. I had a catheter in. But no one would help me. So Ramona was in her little wheelie.
And so they weren't helping you because of social distancing?
But social distancing, again, didn't exist. I don't know if it was a fear of this virus. But again, social distancing, did that come in before lockdown?
No.
So they just wouldn't help me. So I had to get out the bed and pull this bitch towards me less than 24 hours after she was born.
When they tell you not to move, because
When they tell you not to move.
major abdominal
So
surgery.
it was the whole thing was like that. I got sepsis, I had organ failure, I needed 2 blood transfusions. This consultant was like, why don't you want to get better? A normal mum would want to take her baby home. I was like, I'm in the hospital. I'm in the hospital. I don't know what you want from me. I don't know. You've sent my husband home. Nobody will help me. I didn't know I had sepsis. She came down with her clipboard, went, you have sepsis, you have organ failure. Why don't you want to go home? What? So I said to her, I'm sorry, I have what?
It's not a splinter. It's not a splinter in your big toe. You move, sepsis moves. It moves around your body pretty quickly.
It reminded me, I don't know if you've ever watched The US Office, but one of the characters says, I can raise and reduce my blood pressure at will. And they were like, why would you want to raise your blood pressure? And he's like, because I can. It just made me feel like that. Like, you think I've told my kidneys and livers to stop working?
I want you all to shut down.
Yeah, just stop.
And make everybody else's
Have
life like difficult.
Just, wow, fucking ridiculous.
Oh my God.
So then I was sent home. I finally got out 5-6 days later. And the community midwife talked to me once.
Is this over the phone or was this face to face? Yeah. Okay.
And then stopped answering my calls. So it literally was just myself and Jack. And I don't know how somebody who would have given birth at 23 would have coped. Honestly, I don't get it. Thank Christ for me being an old lady when Ramona was born, because it meant that I could be more rational. I had had so many years of looking after myself through my nonsense years that it was kind of like, I can do this.
Yeah, life experience,
and 100%.
And also the fact that you said that, you know, you started dealing with childhood trauma after puberty, when it hit when puberty. Yeah. She'd gone through all of this. She'd gone through a very chaotic, I would say, abusive relationship. Yeah. And you parted from that, and now you're with somebody that you know loves and supports you. Yeah. That you're able to do that and feel it, because otherwise, if there isn't that support mechanism in place within a pandemic, because no one was coming for anybody. No one was coming. I just think that, and because it hasn't happened in our lifetime, being a new mum, and even I was, so that my daughter, it was my second child, I just felt so out of my own depth, because I had back-to-back children. My son was one, so both children born on the same day, but a year apart. And similar to your story, but it was later on, so it was May, Cookie was allowed to come in. We were due to go in at 7 a.m, but we get there and they're like, I'm sorry, can't get in, name's not down. And there was a big confusion. And we eventually get in, but he's only allowed to be in there for 20 minutes. So I had another C-section, and they were like, it was a planned C-section, but he came in, he was in surgery, and then he was there for 20 minutes. And then he left. And we're in a pandemic, and there's social distancing, and I'm having these conversations about trying to breastfeed and it being really, really, really bloody hot, wanting to get out. And then when I get out, it's just, the house is just so still, because you realise the enormity that there are no health workers. No. You can FaceTime people like your friends and family, but once that call ends, it's just you. So whether it's a first-time mother or second time, every time you birth a child, it's a different experience. Yeah. And you were on your own, but with your husband. What were your first initial thoughts? You've brought back Ramona, you're at home, you've never done this before, you've had such a hellish experience getting to this point through labour. How did you cope?
Do you know what? The actual blessing was that she was our first. I had absolutely no idea what it would have been like with support, because I'd never done it before. So going back to not wanting to have kids, or only wanting to have kids because Jack and I were so stable and so secure, had that happened with any kind of chaos in our lives or insecurity of any kind, it would have been literally the worst shit show of anyone's life. Like, Ramona would have been taken from us. Do you know what I mean? But we were so stable.
Mm.
And when he had a wobble, I was there.
Yeah.
When I had a wobble, he was there. So again, it just felt like, well, I guess this is just what we do. I've always been someone who's loved a role.
Mm.
If I know what my role is, I will excel. Don't give me too much freedom, because I'm someone who goes, oh, I'll do that, or I'll do that, or should I do that, or what should I do?
But parenting,
But,
you are a jack of all trades, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not, even though you can have this ping pong volley of like, I'm feeling a bit shit.
Yeah.
Can you like carry the torch?
Yeah.
You're constantly changing it and
Yeah.
evolving, and
100%.
when there is no external support, like there's no health visitors, there's no one, and you're a parent at a time where you don't know what's happening, because this virus is spreading.
Yeah.
And there's no one at the other end of the phone, really.
Yeah.
Speak sense.
Well, that's just it, because obviously my dad always told me that he never thought I'd have kids. He was like, you two just seem too happy, just the two of you. And my mum's wanted me to have kids since I was like 16. So I knew she was very excited. And she was the first grandchild on both sides of the family. And none of them could come. I think my dad picked us up from the hospital, and he carried her baby carrier, like the newborn carrier thing, the car seat, and couldn't touch her. And I'm pretty sure he was in tears but didn't want me to see it, because he was like, that's my grandbaby and I can't touch her. So in terms of getting external help, I didn't want to ask, because it felt like, you can't even come into my house. How can I call you and say, I need your help? On FaceTimes, we did lots of Zoom calls, and I'd just hold her up to the camera and be like, here she is. And I knew when I hung up, they'd all cry. So I didn't want them to know if I was struggling. So how can I put that on you as well as this? I can't do it. So the good thing was, again, I do think it was my age. I do think my age was a big part in being able to cope with that. Not that it was easy. I think I've said before, when we've spoken or on the internet, that I became a little bit agoraphobic without realising it. I would not leave the house. And you know, when you're allowed to go to parks and stuff. I know that's how we met.
Yeah, we met in the park.
But I must have recovered from it then, because was Jack with me, or was he alone? Yeah.
Well, I think I saw you twice in the park, right?
He did. Yeah. So the first time Jack was with me, because it's the only way I'd leave the house. Jack sometimes had to take Ramona out on his own. I couldn't do it. I just thought, if she has a meltdown, I'm not enough. Which is ridiculous. In the house, she lived on me, because that's where I wanted her. But it just felt like, if I go outside, this baby's going to have a meltdown and I am not enough. So I just didn't go outside. I think I made up excuses like, I'm in pain, my scar, which was all complete gash. And I think Jack knew it was, but he wasn't going to, put pressure on me. So it wasn't perfect. And Ramona had awful tummy troubles for the first 10 weeks. But there was no health visitor, so no one to tell us what to do. No one diagnosed her tongue tie. And no one told me I had an extra strong letdown. I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah. There were times where Ramona would cry and I would get my boob out and the milk would hit the wall. And I was I didn't know that wasn't a thing. I thought that was just a funny thing that happened to be.
But if you didn't, because these conversations weren't being had and there was no one monitoring and supporting, sadly, lots of people, lots of women who perhaps didn't have a partner support during this time went under the radar. And
I don't know how they did it, man.
I personally feel like I've always referred to it as a fog, has lifted from that time, because it was an absolute shit show. Yeah. In terms of internal support, because no one knew what was going on. It wasn't readily available. No. And I think it's, those 2.5 years just do feel a bit blurry, and I don't feel I wasn't in a right place. I was still trying to. Everybody was spending so much time on social media, right? Yeah. And so I was just living on this wheel as such, and it's only now that I feel that things have settled or are starting to settle, and I can starting to find myself again. Not only from having 2 very young children, but we birthed in an experience whereby the whole of the world was going through it at the same time, but we had just brought in life. Yeah.
Yeah, we were responsible for this whole other new person who Probably you are expecting a village. I was very terrified that both my mother and Jack's parents would have a lot of advice. Again, I don't like advice being given to me at all. Jack can do it, but I don't like it if anyone else does it because I'm a control freak. But it's kind of like it was one of the things I was most scared of, and then it wasn't there, and I was like, now I kind of wish. I do wish that I had advice from people, just because there was such a vacuum of information about anything, and I hated that it took so long for Ramona to really form proper bonds with her grandparents and aunts and uncles. It's taken a really long time, especially with my mum. My mum was like super, super vulnerable. So even when other people could come out, Mum was told you can't.
I think that will have that. I think that has had an impact in terms of development. There have been lots of conversations about, children, those that are going through GCSEs and A levels that couldn't go to school, and there's been a knock-on effect. But certainly for younger, early years, in terms of socialisation, later development, hitting different milestones, they're all playing catch up now.
Yeah.
So through the pandemic as well, there was a change of career as well for you.
Yes, because the company that I worked with liquidated. So it was not an intentional change of career. But I had some really supportive people who had worked with me in that company, and then because they were kind of they were in a much more stable position, were really supportive in trying to get me sorted as well, knowing that I had a 1-year-old. So that was absolutely terrifying. You come through the pandemic and you're like, well, we made it. Well, the first year.
With a baby.
And then you lose your job. And it's just like, this has to be a joke. This has to be a joke. So then I took another job, thankfully, 3-4 months later. But I left that company last year, and because I was like, this isn't what I want to be doing. It's not quite working for me. And once I hit 40, I just thought, what am I doing? Like, this isn't what I want in my life. I want to be writing more. I want to be creative more. I want to be back in audio. I want the thing that I have to spend my time doing when I'm away from my child to be something that I actually want to do. Yeah. Otherwise, what am I doing? What is life? Like, I don't want to. I turned 40, but I thought, I'm only 40.
Yeah.
So this is gash.
And that's the thing. That's the thing as well. I guess when you're looking back at 20 and like someone tells you the thought, you're like, oh my God, you're well old. You're well old. But like by having, I think the 2.5 years, the pandemic, giving birth, I think it's very, very significant. I think, well, for me personally, it's because being at 40 and then realising what we've gone through and survived it, right? Yeah. That it's given me, even though I have some self-doubt, but similar to what you were saying, if you're going to spend time away from your child, right? And, the beginning of their lives wasn't straightforward. Yeah. So if you're going to spend that time away from them, let it be something that you love doing. 100%. And also experiment. Like I always say, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Yeah. Some people are like, well, you must know what you want to do. Like, don't be so stupid. And like, do you not think you're too old to be dancing in your kitchen? Do you think like, who was going to listen to your podcast? And I said, do you know what? I have to give it a try because we lived through a pandemic. I had a baby. The relationship with my husband was put under a lot of stress. Yeah. Because he was working from home and everything. Now, I've got to be able to take something away from that. So with you losing your job, with having your daughter, you need to get the prize, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the bank balance. It doesn't. It has to be something that you enjoy doing. And like even before we even got onto the mic, you're telling me like you're a singer, you do all this audio. I was like, girl, why didn't you tell me before? Like seriously, because I was looking for an editor and everything. I was like, what? And I didn't know, but it's very parallel. But what is significant about us is that we've both not hit a wall in a sense that we don't want to crash through it. But we've now realised, look, we're in the middle of our lives. We've got through what we've got through. Yeah. We've both left toxic relationships, met somebody that we want to spend our lives with and have kids with. Let's try something new.
I think that was it. It's kind of like subconsciously, it's like, but you're so happy in everything else. So do what you have to do to be happy in the thing that you have to kind of spend your life doing. In terms of what you do to pay your mortgage. It doesn't actually have to be desperately awful. You could be doing something you like. And also that the things that you love to do could very much be that thing. Like I should have done, I say to Jack that I don't believe in having regrets, which he thinks is the stupidest thing I've ever said. But
I think there is some truth in that,
because I feel like if you make a conscious decision, it may have been the wrong decision, but you were making the best decision at the time. So why regret it?
You did the best thing you could on that on any given day. And also, I do believe in. I think I've please don't come in my DMs or message me if I'm wrong about this. I do believe in the butterfly effect, whereby if something you regretted, you changed that one thing. You imagine a stack of dominoes, you removed it. That could have sent you down the left path
100%,
and would have gone bypassed partners, jobs, opportunities, and you wouldn't be where you are today.
No, you wouldn't at all. And I think that it's given me time to really hone the things that I'm now good at and proud of myself for being good at. I think also I felt really proud to be someone's mum, and I was proud of how Jack and I have done that and coped with it. So I wanted to be proud in other things as well. And so, I've been working on my writing and actually telling people that I like writing. Is something I never did before. It's like, this is my thing. So
and that you're good at it.
Yeah.
And that you're good at it.
That bit I'm still working on being able to say out loud, but I know it on the inside. It's like, you
said it with such conviction before we got on here. I was like, this is what we need to hear.
I'm very good at singing. There we go. I know, I know I'm a very good singer. And I'm getting better at audio production, and I have this audio project.
What do you like to sing? Because I really have always wanted to be a singer, right? So what do you like to sing?
So,
because you know what's coming after this, right?
Karaoke.
well, I'm just thinking, if we've got the time, could you?
No way. No. Are
you sure?
No, absolutely sure. I'll come back.
Maybe in the next one.
Yeah. Warm up. Yeah.
Okay.
Not right now.
Sure. Just like a little.
No, thank you.
Sure, we've got the mic, we've got the camera. That's your camera just there. We could just do a little bit.
If you need a theme tune, maybe
a theme tune.
I'll sing a theme tune for you.
I wish you'd told me, because I actually got somebody else to write and compose a theme tune for this show.
I'm joking, but no, get me back on. I promise.
I'm not joking. I'm feeling a karaoke episode coming.
100%. That would be amazing. Okay. Who wouldn't want to listen to that? Okay. No, I am a big singer. I do love diva-y songs. Like, I would. Thing is, I will try anything. I do love to rap, because I love rap. So I rap a lot.
So now you're really. Now you're really pushing my buttons. You can't say that I like to rap.
I do. Not I don't write raps. Like, I'm not.
Is there a favourite rap artist?
I love Snoop. I have always loved Snoop Dogg. I've loved Snoop Dogg since I was 19. I love him. He's a weird old uncle. I love him so much. And Dre. So I was very much West Coast. Jack is East Coast, but I'm very much a West Coast fan.
So all these things that you're talking about, right? All this being, I think one of the messages that I want a continuous thread through sooner or later is basically to championing, I can never say the word, is to congratulate and support these different threads of creativity at this particular time in life. Because I think what I get really frustrated about, and obviously looking back I can say this, is that being told that you have to be a certain thing at a certain age. Like, unless you're being a doctor, unless you're being a brain surgeon, I'd expect you to do the course, because I don't want you to come anywhere near my brain and had 2 minutes studying. But how are you expected to know what you want to do?
Yeah.
At that age, when life circumstances changes and relationships will have impact on you, family, losing family members, whatever. But you're now at a time in your age where you feel like, I'm very good at writing. I like writing. I like singing. I like rap.
Yeah.
I want to be proud. I'm a proud parent.
Yeah.
And I want to experiment and do all these different things. Yeah. And I just want to say, well done. Well done for owning it, because so many people will, as I was saying before, like people are like, why are you dancing for? Don't you think you're a bit too old for that? I'm like,
I can't imagine how sour you would have to be.
Do you know what I mean? Or like, oh, do you not think you should be wearing that? I'm like,
What?
like, babes, like, just keep swiping.
I was about to say,
Move
don't
on.
worry about what I'm doing. I'm all right.
I'm
You
all
go sort
right.
yourself out, thanks. But also, what I like about my age now is, I think when you're younger, you think, well, I don't know what the hell I'm doing now, but by the time I'm that age, I must know. No, you don't.
You don't.
And do you know what is wicked? You don't have to have everything sorted. But I think that's something that until you get here, you don't know.
You don't know.
People never really understood. When I was 20, I always thought my best year of my life, I don't know what I thought, it will be 32. And I never wanted to be in my 20s. I knew I wouldn't enjoy it. And I was like, 32 is going to be my year. And to be fair, my 32 was pretty brilliant. But I love being 40. It's only been like 6 months. But I've loved it. I've absolutely loved it. I have found a freedom. Yes, there has definitely been stresses of being freelance. But I'm like, oh, do you know what? I've made connections. I've worked with people.
Do you still get that? Do you still get that pang of not to put words in your mouth, that pang of anxiety? Do you sometimes doubt your confidence? Do you sometimes think, what am I doing? And it's got to be momentarily, because obviously you've said with such conviction that, you know, I like being 40, I like trying all these different things. But sometimes, like, there might be a comment, there might be whether it's out on social media or maybe closer to home, a family member or anything like that. Do you always have to have that conversation with yourself and say, I'm great, this is the path I'm taking? Or do you sometimes think, what am I doing?
Once I've put something out into the world, I don't care anymore, because it's like, I made that decision to do it, so that's what it is. Anybody could say anything they want. If I got a negative comment on my social media, I would laugh I really would not think about it again. I don't care. If you don't like my writing, don't read it. If you don't like what I'm wearing, don't look at me. If you don't like what I'm saying, go away. That's not, I just don't care anymore. I think I cared about it so much when I was younger.
Yeah.
I don't have it anymore. Professionally now is a different thing, because I really care. Because it's not for me, it's for someone else. So it's like I'm creating a product for somebody else, not for myself. If I'm creating for myself, I'm happy. If I'm creating for someone else, I really need them to like it. So that's the only time I get a bit like, oh shit, have I used the right tone? Have I come at this painting at the right angle? Have I discussed impressionism in the way that this place's audience, which could be hundreds of thousands of people, are they going to go, what the fuck is this person talking about? So that's where I get nervous. But when
it takes time. But it takes time, though, doesn't it? So
I've been doing it 17 years.
No,
so
but in terms of art, you haven't always been writing about art.
No, that's very true.
So it takes time. But you're obviously a writer. But to write about something that you don't really know about will take time and, you know, experience.
Yeah.
But it's taking on that challenge. Perhaps something you wouldn't have done 15 years ago.
Yeah, 15 years ago, no, I absolutely would have shit the bed. It's not possible. But like now, I've made connections where I'm like, I've had 2 ideas for children's books since Ramona was born.
Yeah.
In fact, one of them I had about 8 years ago, and a published writer was like, that is an amazing idea. You must write that down. But the fear of failure has always stopped me. Whereas in the last 4 months, I've actually been sketching it out, and I'm prepared to show it to someone who has connections. And it's like, I'm 40 now, I've got a kid. Even if they say no, it doesn't matter, because I finished something.
And you tried it. And you tried it.
Yeah.
You tried it. It's a bit like me and my driving test. I failed twice, but I tried twice.
Yeah.
I definitely tried twice.
Yeah.
Which leads me on to this question. What's Fiona doing, and what's Fiona got in like 10 years? Like, where are we?
So it could be pure fantasy, and I don't know how Jack's going to feel when I say this, but I want to be writing. I want my kind of podcast audio idea to be doing really well, not in terms of money, but just in terms of actually helping people. Because, you know, going through motherhood in a pandemic, I know how lonely it is.
Yeah.
So I want to have done good. I want my efforts, my passions, my work to be out there, either in written form, kids' books. I've always wanted to finish my novels. Like, I want to be doing that stuff. happily, even if it's part-time. I just want to be happily doing it with full faith in myself. I would love another kid. I would love to be 50 with 2 kids.
There's your sign.
I know.
There's your sign.
I know. And to be fair, maybe as the reality comes in, I'll be like, what the fuck? No, absolutely not. But right now, I'm like, I could be 50 with 2 kids and a writing career. I'm sure I could.
Woman, like you had, I don't want, and I play it down myself. We had kids in the pandemic.
Yeah.
I sometimes think, when I'm like talking to myself, I'm like, I can't do it. I'm like, do you know how intense that was?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
not knowing what's going on, and like me looking at Cookie, one baby looking at me, another one looking at that, not knowing. And you know, like my daughter had tongue tie as well.
Yeah.
And so it was like speaking, now we'll have to just wait.
Yeah.
And like having somebody come round all masked up, like all of that was trauma.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
all trauma. So I'm feeling very like speaking to you today is really kind of put some wind behind myself, because we can do so much more, and we've proved that to ourselves, and we need to continue doing that. So a children's book,
Yeah.
another baby.
Yeah. And to be, like I said, I'd like to be doing a lot of audio production and talking to people. I love interviewing people. And
Will you come back
writing.
and interview me?
I would love to. I'd absolutely love to. It would be a pure dating episode. I want to know more. I want to know more. Maybe we should have a round table of women just talking about
Oh, we'd
awful.
be here for hours. It's actually my favourite topic of conversation, and I've got a couple of books in me about it.
Yeah.
And I was talking about it the other day, and I don't regret it, because it's what brought me here, and I think if I hadn't have gone through all of that, I wouldn't have met Cookie.
Yeah.
But some of these people, if you're listening, like, what planet? From stealing bacon out of fridges, from leaving me in another country, and I used to like think maybe I was the drama. No, you're just like
Absolutely
just fucking
not.
weird. But yeah, that's definitely another episode. And yeah, I'll have to plot it. But yeah, we'll have to just all sit around a table
That'd be amazing.
and just put it out there. But yeah, I think there's been so many similarities. I know we spoke and we've messaged each other on Instagram, whereby I think that we're more similar than I thought we were.
Yeah.
But we definitely join in the middle of being at this age where we think, let's just make it count.
Yeah.
Make it count and shut out the noise and just keep doing it, because, you know, you've already said that you want to have so much in the future. If you were looking back at younger Fiona, what would you say to her?
How much younger? Because each different stage needs a different telling us.
Okay. So let's go with late 20s, early 30s.
Right. So I would have just stopped with my ex. So number one, best decision of your life. And I know you've been trying to tell him to leave for the last 4 months, but it was worth the struggle, because now he's gone. You're going to move in with your grandmother. Just knuckle down. Like, just get through it. It'll be fine. Soon you're going to meet the best friend you've ever had. And I guess chill out. I know it sounds like a stupid thing to say, but you're going to go through some stress that is going to actually really damage your health. So again, calm down. Take your feet off the pedal. Stop beating yourself up every day. Stop doing as much work and taking on as much pressure as you are, because again, you don't need to prove yourself to anybody. The fact that you have survived the last however many years is exceptional. Be proud of yourself and get on with your life without the weight of everything that you're putting on yourself.
Oh.
That's what I would say.
I'll tell you something. I wasn't expecting this conversation today.
Oh, really?
Well, I knew in my mind, but there's just so much, like, I think that we need to take this offline. I think we need to have dinner.
Yeah, I
because
would love that.
there is so much that you're saying that I have said to myself, younger Soph, or I say and repeat every day, that I think that, yeah, maybe we're like some kindred spirits of some sort.
And the friends that we make later I think are, it's pure. Do you know what I mean? I think it's great to have, I mean, I have some exceptional friends that I've known for 20 years and they're like family to me. But I've also made friends in the last 3 years. We were all pregnant together who have become priceless to me. We're not the closest, but they are priceless. I couldn't be without them. And I think that is nice. I think there's a lot less insecurity. There's a lot less anxiety about meeting friends. It's harder when you're older.
Yeah.
But when you do it, I think you're bound together.
Yeah, that's definitely a next topic of conversation. Friends as older, because like I was saying, I feel, and this is no disrespect to my friends, but we're just like circumstances. Like I just feel that my network is weakened. Even though I feel like I've changed. I've definitely changed since having children. But you don't need to have 10 zillion friends.
No.
But you need a support mechanism. You need to feel comfortable. But I feel like because we were all behind closed doors for 2.5 years as well, there's lots of me that's not there anymore.
Yeah.
And I essentially am a different person.
Yeah.
But you expect that as you get older. You don't expect to be the same person as you were 5 years ago.
You expect your friends to be there with you.
Yeah.
I feel like that transformative period of becoming a parent, because it was just Jack and myself, my friends have missed that.
Yeah.
And so they're much closer with my other friends' kids. And that's not their fault because they weren't able to get that bond.
Yeah, there was an actual physical, legal block.
Yeah.
Like, but unless you were the Prime Minister or anybody else gripping out somebody else's ass, unless you were abiding by these rules, like there was a physical block.
Yeah,
and that was out of our control. And I think that has had not only, we talk very openly about it being an impact to our children, as we were saying earlier, but as adults as well, going back into the world where there's been so much loss, and whether that has been loss from actually losing loved ones, losses of jobs, loss of confidence. I feel like I'm having to start again. And as I was saying, that I really want to try and build a community selfishly, for myself again, so I can network, whether it being work, friendships, just having people on the same page and that understand that this creative, not transformation, because I think if you're creative, you're always creative, but to support that and not think that you're being, I wouldn't do that, it's a bit late in the day for that. Do you know what I mean? You want people that saying, okay, I don't really understand it, but if it makes you happy, then that is peace. That is priceless.
But in addition to that, it's also really nice meeting people who became parents during the pandemic, because I think, again, as you said, things have softened now. We're kind of closer to normal than we have been in a long time. But part of that means that things that I didn't know had affected me are coming up.
Yeah.
And it's really strange. And it's something that I've not really spoken about. I've spoken to Jack about it. But like my sister-in-law recently had the most beautiful boy. He is absolutely gorgeous. Watching her parents fawn over him made me cry the first time it happened, because I thought Ramona didn't get that.
Yeah.
She had me and Jack and we were there the whole time. But Ramona didn't get that. And I know how much they wanted to give that to her.
Yeah.
They adore her. But I just thought, oh man.
And that's a loss more impacted on you, because Ramona wouldn't know any different.
No.
So, but it's that 2.5 years, 3 years was a loss for so many people.
100%.
And that then taps into some kind of that thing we all hold as parents is guilt.
Yeah.
Because
guilt
even though she doesn't know any different, it's a bit like me. I feel guilty for not having any grandparents for my children. Yeah. But it was out of my control.
Of course.
And it happened like 20, 21 odd years ago.
Yeah.
So, there is all of that. I could honestly speak to you forever.
Like I said, I've got to come back and sing for you.
But there's still time. Like, look, we don't have to pull the plug now.
Wait, no.
Loving you.
I used to sing that in the car.
Join in. It's easy 'cause you're beautiful.
No, this is your solo. I'll give you a moment. Or Silly Games. That was the one we used to sing in the car.
Yeah, Janet Kay would just be like, will you stop singing, please? Silly girl.
That's the one.
Hit it.
No, you're right.
Okay.
That note, that's where you want me to start? My God.
Fiona, you have been, honestly, I wasn't expecting this today. I knew what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And I'd reached out to you in beforehand, and yeah, you've been an actual delight.
Good.
Like you brought a lot of light to me today, and I have to thank you. And I definitely want you to come back. I definitely want to hear you rap. I definitely want to be on your
rapping is a karaoke booth with the two of us. That's not necessarily.
Well, maybe that's what we do. Maybe we do a networking thing and we invite other people.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about doing that online, whereby I have another account and it's private, so we know who's in it, and we just like meet up and we do a bit of karaoke, and it just gives us a bit of some downtime because being online is brilliant, right? It's brilliant, but I cannot live behind my phone. Having lived behind my phone during the pandemic and it being a much needed source, it doesn't have to end there. It can move beyond there. And that's what this podcast is definitely encouraging me to do. So we're definitely going to have another conversation. I want to hear about your podcast when it comes out.
Yes.
I want to be on your podcast.
You absolutely will be on my podcast.
And so just once again, Fiona, for those that are listening in and those that are on Instagram, where can we find you?
So my handle is fatblackpregnant. I think there's underscores between each of the words. Website is fatblackmother.co.uk, which is primarily a blog, and I like uploading photographs to it because I am an obsessive of taking photographs of my kid. Jack thinks it's disgusting.
You're not alone.
I think it's normal.
No, your future will thank you for those pictures where you're not quite in the frame, when you're like just not the rehearsed, not the posy ones. I do lots of posy ones on Instagram, but I'm actually I like the candid ones.
Yeah.
You just can't, because I don't have that with my mum.
Right.
I don't have any pictures. I have like a few pictures of mum, like my graduation, and then us on a step. They're grainy. You can't really see them, but I know that our children are going to be like, Mum, where's that picture of you? Or at Christmas. And so take all the photos.
100%.
Take the videos, like even if it's just for you.
Yeah.
Then put them out there. But I think as well, I was speaking about this before with a previous guest, is that, if you really are, because I think you said the reason for your name was that you actually went searching for
people that looked like me.
People that look like you.
Yeah.
And it wasn't there. But if you want to be that change and you can't find it, then you need to step up and you need to put yourself out there. It's not your responsibility to put the whole weight of the world on your shoulders.
No.
But it's encouraging.
100%.
It's encouraging to see, to have another black woman that's gone through what I've gone through in terms of pregnancies, and feel that even if it's just one person that listens to this today, or one person that sees your website, or on Instagram, fat, black and pregnant, underscore between.
I think there's underscores between fat and black and pregnant.
But if you're following me, you'll find Fiona. I think it's really, really important. I think we've covered a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I'm honestly, I had ideas of how this was going to go today, and it didn't go that way at all. And I'm really glad that it didn't. And I think I'm not just bragging, guys. I think I've secured another great conversation.
100%. 100%. I love to chat.
Definitely coming back. So, I'm Sophia Cook.
I'm Fiona Houston.
And this is Sooner or Later, the Sophia Cook Podcast. Thank you so much.
You're very
Thank you so much, guys. And we'll speak again. You're amazing, Fiona. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.